Everyone?
Hi, sir. Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, thanks, Aditya. So I'm sharing my screen. I have shared my screen. I hope everyone able to see now. See, we have covered all these topics. Selenium, what is Selenium? What is the components of the Selenium? Like Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, Selenium WebDriver, Selenium Grid. And also we have seen what are the methods of Selenium WebDriver. We have seen the Selenium locators, 8 locators, right? ID, name, tag name, the XPath, link text, partial link text like that. It look at this, we have a look into it. And also we have seen common methods of the Selenium for every web element. Like a text box for the text box web element after identifying text box web element using the locators, we need to use send case method. So for like that we need to use for clicking the buttons and after identifying the button web elements and link web elements to click the buttons and links, we need to use click method. So like that for the drop down web elements, we have seen how to use select class and methods select by value, select by index, select by text. And also we have seen how to switch to multiple windows, get window handles method. We have seen how to switch to frame to identify the frame using a switch to frame. Okay. And for performing all these actions, we need to create the driver object for the web driver. So using the driver object, we need to call all these methods after identifying the web elements using the locators. So we have seen all these. So like this I have explained, right? Text box of first driver of creation and then opening the application using get method and also identifying the text box web element using driver.findElement method by that id locator. So by is a class, id is locator, the attribute value is username in DOM structure. You can find it and using send case method, you can enter the text in the text box. Same way for the drop down is we need to use select class. Select class, we need to create an object for the select class. First, we need to identify the drop down web element and create object for the select class, passing the web element, identify drop down web element, and using select by visible text, select by index, select by value. We can use either one of the method, not all the methods. We can use either select by visible text method or select by index method or select by value. Like that, we need to perform the action to select the options from the drop down web element. To perform action on button, we need to use click. method. After identifying the button web element using driver.find element, and we need to perform action on the identified web element using click method. Like a links, same get method. After opening the application, first step is creating the driver object, opening application using get method, and then identify the link web element and performing click action on the link web element. Page titles means get title method will be used. So driver dot get title method. So alert pop-ups, handling the alert pop-ups on the web applications when we are creating automation test cases, then we need to use accept. That means first we need to create a alert object. Alert is a class object. So driver, so in the alert object, so we need to switch to alert, and then we need to use get text method, accept method, or dismiss method, or get text method. We have three methods in alert pop-ups. So we can use these methods to click on OK. That means accept method. Click on cancel button on alert pop-up. We can use dismiss method to click on to get the text of the alert pop-up. Then we need to use get text method. So first we need to switch to alert means driver dot switch to method dot alert method. So this way we can create alert object, and then alert, using the alert object, then we need to get. Switching between the windows using get windows handles method. See here, driver dot find element of. So after identifying the web element, so click on the web element, open new window. So how to identify the new window? We need using find element method only, and click the new window web element. We can use the window handles method to switch to new window. Okay. So example, to open a new window, we need to perform click action, right? We need to click some button or something, and then it will open a new window. For that, we need to identify the button to click it. Then we need to perform the click action, and then it will open a new window. To handle the new window, how we need to switch to new window, right? For that, driver dot get window handles method. Handle, it is a one single window only. That's why we use get window handle method. If it is a multiple windows, we need to use get window handles method. So single window means it's open a new single window. So one single window means one new window means driver dot get window handle method. We are storing as a, it is a string type of the window handle. That's why the string type of object equal to driver dot get window handle. And for each loop, enhanced for loop, for take a string type of new object window handle, which is assigning, will be assigned by the driver dot get window handles. So this driver dot get window handles is returns a string object, then it is assigning to a new string object, the enhanced for loop. Then it will check that window handle object dot equals of main window. So if the window the return the string value, so driver dot get window handles returns one string a string values, right? So it is assigning to a window handle new string type of object. Then we are comparing two strings. Window handle is having one string and main window is having one string. Okay. So if both are equal, but it is checking both are not equal. Apostrophe means not equal, right? So if window handle the returned string value is not equal to the returned main window string value. For a single window handling get window handle method, it will return a string value. For multiple string get window handles method, it will return a string value too. Then we are comparing both the string values. For that we are using the for each loop to iterate through the window handles because it's a list of string values, right? Then in this case, it is open a single window, right? That's why window handles method also returns a single string. Then we are checking already returned a single window string with the get window handle a string object. If both the strings are not equal, sorry, here we are checking, we are assigning only. So get window handle is assigned to one window handle. Main window is one string value. Window is one string value. So we are comparing both the string values. If if both are not equal, then only we can switch to window handle. So driver dot switch to method will be used and switch to window, right? So window of window handle. So window handle is having the new window ID or something. So this is the way to move switch to multiple windows using get window handles method, and we are breaking it for each loop by the if condition this one. So we are breaking it and we are iterating through each window handle, and it is a single window handle. That's why one time only it will perform and it will switch to new window. Perform actions in the new window. So after switching to the new window, we are identifying the new window handle web element using it's a web element type of object new window element equal to driver dot. In the new window we have a web element. After switching into new window, we have some web elements, right? To identify that web element, kind of a button example. So in the new window we have a button web element. To identify that button web element, this is the syntax. Web element type of new window element object equal to driver dot find element of by dot id of new window element and performing click action. Switching to frames. Okay. After identifying it, so we need to click, right? So we are performing click action. So to close the new window, we will use close method. So driver object dot close method. So to will close the new window. So how to return back to main window? Driver dot switch to window of main window. So this is the way to return back to main window. Switching between the frames. So we have to switch to an iframe. We can use switch to dot frame method. So and can identify frames by index, frame name, or frame web element. So we can identify the frames by frame index and frame name or web element. So for that we need to create a driver object and open application using get method and using switch to method. Driver object dot switch to method dot frame index 0. So we are switching to the frame first frame using index 0. So how to switching to the frame using based on name or ID means driver dot switch to dot frame of frame name or frame ID. Perform actions within the frame. After switching to the frame to perform actions on a web element like a button web element or any web element. In this example, button web element available inside the frame. Then after switching into the frame, driver dot switch to dot frame of frame name. Then we are switching to the frame. After switching into frame, we have a web element button type and we need to identify. To identify it, web element type object equal to driver.find element of by.id of, it means find element method using by class id locator attribute value. We are identifying the button type of web element inside the frame. And after identifying web element inside the frame, we are clicking performing click action using click method. So this web element dot click. So inside the frame, we identify the web element. So the driver.find element method returns a web element. We are storing in the frame element, which is a web element, identified web element. So web element dot click method. Switch back to, after switching into new frame, again we need to switch back to the main window, right? Or main frame, something like that. Then in the frames concept, we have a method default content. In the window, we have a main window, right? If we have main window, we are switching back to main window. Window dot main window of main window. The frames concept, to switch back to the main window or main, then we need to use default content method. Driver dot switch to method dot default content method. Switch back to the default content, the main page. So checkbox, to perform an action on a checkbox, we can use click method. And we are checking whether checkbox already selected using each selected method. So checkbox driver.find element of by.id of this one. We are finding the agree terms checkbox. Okay, the ID attribute values are agree terms. So we identify the checkbox web element and we are checking whether the checkbox already selected using is selected method. So if the identified checkbox dot is selected method, we are checking if the checkbox is not selected. Apostrophe means if apostrophe checkbox dot is selected means we are checking the checkbox is not selected. If checkbox is not selected, then we need to check the checkbox, right? Then checkbox dot using click method, we are checking the checkbox. Select the checkbox if not already selected. If checkbox is selected, no need to click the action because checkbox already selected. If checkbox is not selected, then only we need to check the checkbox using click method. So that's why we are checking whether checkbox already selected or not first, and then if it is not selected, then we are selecting the checkbox using click method. Radio button is same way. We can select the radio button using click method, and before that we are checking whether radio button already selected using is selected method. So the same way we are storing, we are storing the radio identified radio element using driver dot find element of by dot id of gender male. So gender male is a attribute value to identify a radio button. So, so this radio button is a web element, right? So we identified the radio button web element, and then we are checking whether radio button already selected is is selected using the is selected method. If the radio button is not selected, then we need to select the radio button using click method. So search box is how to click identify the search box. In the search box, we need to pass the text to search, right? Like Amazon search or any product search in any web application, we used to have search boxes. The search boxes, so we need to enter some text, some product name or something, and then we need to click on the search button. So for that, we need to enter the text using send keys method, and we need to click on the search button. So for that, we need to write the code, identify the search web element type of search box, identifying using driver.find element by that ID of search. ID locator and the attribute ID value is search. So we identify the search box. Using send keys method, the identified web element is search box, web element dot send keys method, and in the search box we are passing the text Selenium WebDriver. We are entering the text Selenium WebDriver using send keys method. How to submit search? After entering the some texture, we need to click the search button, right? So search button is search box, identified search web element dot submit method. So we need to use submit method to click the search button, submit the search. So web element dot submit button. So these are all the methods we need to practice. So we need to understand, we need to remember all these methods to perform actions on a identified web elements on any web application when you are doing automation testing, writing the automation test cases. We need to use all these methods when the corresponding web elements come across the web, any web application when which you are doing automation testing. So for that, we have seen one example also. So we need to import all the packages, required packages, and then we need to open. Um, this is actually for setting up the Chrome driver. So set up the path for the Chrome driver. Make sure you have downloaded correct version. So to example, when we are using Chrome driver, Chrome browser, sorry. So to open any application when we are using Chrome browser, we need to make sure we are downloaded the corresponding matching version, the correct version. The Chrome version should match with the Chrome driver. So we need to download the proper Chrome driver in our system. When you are using desktop in office, you need to make sure the desktop should have Chrome driver. If you are using laptop in your company, then you need to make sure in laptop which you are using for the automation testing, it should have the Chrome driver which is matching with the Chrome browser version. So after downloading the Chrome driver, then we need to set up the property system.set property of the driver name webdriver.chrome.driver and the path to the Chrome driver. After downloading, we will keep it in a C drive program file somewhere, right? C or D drive. Then we need to give the path of the Chrome driver where you have stored it. So the driver name webdriver.chrome.driver, comma, path of the driver, two parameters. So we are passing two parameters into the system.set property. So set the driver properties. So this is the way we can set up the path for the Chrome driver. So after set up the Chrome driver path, then we can create the WebDriver object. So WebDriver type of driver object equal to new Chrome driver. So using get method, we are opening driver object get method. Get method will be used to open any web application using by giving the URL of the application inside the get method. So driver.get method passing the URL of the required application inside the double quotations. So this is the way get method will be used in Selenium WebDriver to open any required application by passing URL. So driver and also after opening browser, we should maximize the browser window using maximize method. That is maximize the window means driver.manage method window method dot maximize. So driver dot manage is having window method and we need to maximize using maximize method. So this is we need to remember. So driver dot manage dot window dot maximize method will be used to maximize the browser window after opening application. After maximize the window, we need to perform the login action on Amazon. So for that, we need to identify the sign in button using driver.find element. After entering sign in button, we need to click on the sign in button and we need to and also before clicking or before performing any action on web elements, just use the wait method. So WebDriver wait for the login page to load because when you are opening a application, it will take some time to open a to go to the login page. Okay, and also to open a page, and to if you are clicking on some button, if to go to the new page, it will take some time. So for that we need to use wait method in the Selenium WebDriver. WebDriver wait type of wait object equal to new WebDriver wait. So this is a WebDriver wait is a class in a Selenium WebDriver. This WebDriver wait is a class we can use for the wait for any web element in a web application pages. So for that we need to create a wait object which is a WebDriver wait type. And while creating a wait object, we need to pass driver object parameter as a parameter and wait time also. If you are waiting, if you want to wait 10 seconds or 5 seconds or 30 seconds, so we need to pass the wait time along with the driver object. So we need to pass two parameters, driver object comma wait time in wait object when you are creating it. So this is how we can create wait object and passing driver object parameter and wait time parameter. After creating a wait object, we need to use until condition. So wait object dot until means till what time it should wait. So until expected conditions is a class name. So in until we need to pass expected conditions class name dot in the expected conditions class name in Selenium WebDriver, we have a visibility of element located. So we have two, three methods. So that means visibility of element located. So if the element is the located element is visible, wait till that time. It meaning so wait dot until expected conditions dot visibility of element located. Wait till the element is visible on a web page, and then after element is visible, it's located. Then identify the element. So if element is visible, we need to identify, right? Manually means we need to go and click it, or we need to enter the username password. If the web element is text box, if web element is button, after visible the button, we need to manually click it. But through automation, we need to after visible, we need to identify it using locators. So by that ID of that email, so we are identifying it after visible of a text box. We are identifying the text box. So that means we need to wait, okay, after till the button or text box web element visible on a web page, and then for that we have giving 10 seconds. So we are giving 10 seconds time to wait for a email text box to be visible on a web page. Then we are identifying the email text box, and we are after identifying the email text box, we are entering the text, the email ID using send keys method. Okay, in the Selenium WebDriver for text box web element, after identifying text box web element, we need to pass the text. When is the we can enter the text in a text box using send keys method. That's why we are using send keys method. And also click on a and if you have in this Amazon we have a continue button after entering the email ID of a customer. Then we need to after entering the email ID, we need to identify the button, right? That's why we are identifying the button. Driver dot find element of by dot ID locator using attribute value of ID. We are identifying the continue button. And after identifying continue, we are using click method to click on the continue button. And also the same way for every sorry, after clicking the continue button, it will take some time to go to next page, or for that we again we need to give some wait time. If you see, we are creating wait object one time only, right? And we are passing the how much time it should wait. So we are defining time also creating while creating wait object. After that, every time no need to create the wait object. You need to use simply wait object dot until expected conditions dot visibility of element located. So it is waiting for 10 seconds to visible the password text box. After identifying password text box using by.id, then we are using send keys method to enter the password. And again, after entering password, again we need to click on the login button. So we need to identify the login button, and we need to click on the login button. So the similar way, we can use Selenium methods. Using Selenium locators and Selenium methods, we can perform the actions. And after clicking on the login button, it will take some time to go to Amazon homepage. For that, again, we need to give wait time. So for every action, we need to know when you can give wait time. When you click on some button, it will take few seconds to load a page. Then we need to use wait method, and we need to say to the waiter to wait for 10 seconds or 5 seconds. Then it will wait till that 10 seconds for that particular page or web elements. So the similar way, we need to perform the corresponding actions on a Amazon page. So here the example is, we need to log in into the Amazon application. We need to select the product, and we need to add the product to the cart. After adding cart, we need to purchase it. So that is the example. So this is the how we need to create the automation test cases. This is the one test case, automation test case. How to log in into Amazon application and search a product and add a cart and purchase a product. So this is how we need to create a automation test cases in Selenium WebDriver. This is the explanation. I have shared the material, so just go through the definitions and understand it. Sorry. See, a sample automation project creation. See, normally we can use Eclipse IDE or IntelliJ IDE, right? Currently, the process is same. IDE is different. So we are using Eclipse IDE. So in Eclipse IDE, how to create a automation project using Selenium WebDriver, Java and Selenium WebDriver. So set up the prerequisites. For that, what we need to do? For creating a automation project in any IDE, okay, in your organization, you're working as an automation test engineer or automation lead. Then your responsibility to create a automation project and create the automation test cases. So for that, what you need to do? You need to install first Java JDK in your laptop or computer. So sorry. So in your laptop or computer, wherever you're working on automation project, first step is that machine should have Java to be installed. Okay, JDK to be installed, and building tool. So the we should use Maven tool or Gradle tool. Maven or Gradle are a build tool, the project build tools. So for automation project build tool, we will use Maven or Gradle to manage the dependencies. So we will use the dependencies for each tool, right? For Java, Selenium, TestNG, Maven. So for not for required tools, extend reports, we will use the corresponding dependencies. I will show it how it looks. Then it will download the libraries of all those tools. Java means Java library will be downloaded. Selenium means Selenium libraries will be downloaded. And TestNG means TestNG annotations or libraries will be downloaded. So like that, we can give dependencies in Maven or Gradle build tool. The first step is Java installation. It should have the machine should have Java, and then machine should have Maven or Gradle build tool. So IDE, we can use Eclipse or IntelliJ IDE. This is also which we need to download in our system when you are creating a automation project, because we need to create in Eclipse only, right? Eclipse or IntelliJ IDE. So we are using Eclipse means, so Eclipse should have, your system should have Eclipse IDE. And then Selenium WebDriver, add it as a dependency in your Maven or Gradle project. So Selenium WebDriver, which the machine should have Selenium WebDriver, because we are automating a web application. We are writing the automation test cases using Selenium WebDriver. Then your system should have, your the laptop or desktop machine should have Selenium WebDriver. For that, we need to add a dependency, Selenium dependency in your Maven or Gradle project. See, this is the Maven dependency for Selenium. See, dependency we need to add this way. Dependency tag in Maven or Gradle, we will have pom.xml. We are using Maven only. So in Maven build tool, the project build tool, we will have pom.xml. So in pom.xml XML file, we need to add a dependencies, whatever tools we are using. So Selenium WebDriver means the dependency tag, inside the dependency tag, the group ID, artifact ID, version number, the tool version number will be there. So always these three are common: group ID, artifact ID, version number. The tools we need to use based on our required tools. So here one dependency we are giving the Selenium. The group ID is the package name org.selenium hq.selenium. This is the group ID we are giving for Selenium, and artifact ID is Selenium Java. And then the Selenium version is 4.11.0. This is the Selenium version we are using for the automation project. So in a dependency, if you are giving like this, it will download the Selenium 4.11 version in your desktop. That means in your desktop, in a sense, it will download in a project which you are creating in a Eclipse. Okay, IDE. So the dependency, whatever dependency you are giving in a pom.xml, it will download the corresponding libraries, the versions also, the corresponding versions. The Selenium WebDriver version 4.11 is downloaded, all the libraries in a Maven project in Eclipse IDE. And also, it will download the WebDriver manager. So for WebDriver manager, we are using Selenium WebDriver. For that, we need a WebDriver manager. So that version is 5.5.3. This is also downloaded in a Maven project in Eclipse IDE. So whatever dependency, if you need TestNG, if you need JUnit, if you need Cucumber, any tool if you need to use in a automation framework or automation project, this is the way we need to use the corresponding dependencies. So that means for a Cucumber means we need to use Cucumber tool, the version number. And TestNG means the TestNG package, TestNG version, the TestNG required TestNG and the TestNG version. So like that, if you need any tool you need to use for the automation project while creating in a Maven project in Eclipse IDE, we need to use the corresponding dependencies in pom.xml. So directory structure. So when you create a Maven project in Eclipse, right? So the project will be created, the structure will be created like this. If you create a project, if you are giving file Maven project, that means file, you go to, I think I opened Eclipse, but it's closed it. I will try to open one second. Let it open. So meanwhile, I will explain theoretically. Once Eclipse opens, I will show how to create Maven project. See here, this one, if you are creating a project as a Maven project in Eclipse for the automation, for creating a automation project, so just select a Maven project and give the project name. Here in this, the project name we have given Amazon Automation Framework. So here, when you create a Maven project, then the folder structure will be created like this. The project structure. The source main Java folder. So in that source main Java folder, we need to create packages. That means for the pages. So we need to have the page classes. For that, we need to create a packages, pages, and page classes. Home page dot Java means for home page class, search results page class. So all page classes will be stored in the source main Java folder, and utilities, all the utilities like a configuration file and directory, the driver factory file, all those classes we are storing in utility folder and source test Java folder. So when you are creating a Maven project, a proper structure will be created using all these folders. So, so that we will create the pages in a one folder, utility files in one folder, and test cases in one folder. So this is a proper way, right? That's why we are calling a automation framework. So we need to create a automation framework using Maven proper way. That's why means then only if you want to make some changes on any class, if you want to make changes on your test cases, it is easy to identify which case you need to modify if it is a proper structure. That's why we are creating an automation framework using Maven project in a proper way. Okay. And in source test Java, we are creating the test cases. That means such test is a one test case. And source test resources folder, it is having configuration file, config.properties file. In configuration file, we should have all the common URLs, the application URL. The application URL you need to use throughout the test cases, right? For whole project. That's why we are storing in config file. And the required IP address, host name, everything we are storing all these in config.properties. So it will read from the config.property. All these URL application URL are required values reading from the config properties and using in a automation test cases in a Maven project. So this is how we need to create a Maven project for the automation framework creation for any web application in your organization. So if you see here, the framework components, automation framework components means the driver factory. So driver factory means, see here, the driver factory is one class which is available. We are maintaining in utility folder. So the utils folder we are creating one driver factory class. So the driver factory is the WebDriver initialization. How we can initialize WebDriver? For that we are creating a one class in utils package. The package name is utils. Where I'm importing the corresponding WebDriver package, Chrome driver package, WebDriver manager package. So we are importing the required packages in a class. Here we are importing WebDriver, Chrome driver, WebDriver manager. And then we are creating a class, public class, driver factory class name, public private static WebDriver type of driver. That means we are declaring a one driver object which is a private type. That means it is useful for this class only. So private static WebDriver type of driver. And after declaring the driver object, driver variable, then we are using the method. public static WebDriver type of getDriver. So we are using the method getDriver method. If driver equal to, and we are checking if driver equal to null, if condition, we are checking using if condition driver equal to null if the driver manager WebDriver manager dot Chrome driver dot setup. If there is no driver available, then we need to set up the driver using WebDriver manager dot Chrome driver dot setup method. So after set up the Chrome driver, then we need to create the object driver equal to new Chrome driver. See, initially I have shown, right, system dot set property of WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver um, Chrome dot Chrome driver, and we are giving the path of the Chrome driver. That is how it will perform. Setup method will have that system dot set property Chrome driver, set up the Chrome driver syntax. So after set up the Chrome driver, we are creating the driver object. Driver object equal to new Chrome driver. This driver object is a WebDriver type. So we are creating a Chrome driver object, that is driver. So after creating a Chrome driver object, the driver object dot manage dot window dot maximize. So we are maximizing the that window, and then we are returning the driver. Okay, because this method is a WebDriver type, right? So we need to return a driver object, the return driver object. This is not a void type, WebDriver type. If it is a void type, it won't return any value, the method. This method is a WebDriver type, that's why it should return the driver. That's why we are returning a driver. So this method returns this driver object, and then if driver equal to not, if driver not equal to null, that means if driver is available, then we need to quit the driver. See, these are the methods we are maintaining in a class driver factory. So in the driver factory class, we are maintaining get driver method and quit driver method. If there is no driver, set up the how to initialize the driver. If there is a driver, to close the driver, we need to use quit driver. So we are maintaining get driver method, quit driver method inside the driver factory class in a utils package. This is the first step we need to have. And also we are reading the configuration properties. For that, we are config reader class we are using. So for that package, we are maintaining in the utils package the config reader class. That means for that we are importing the corresponding packages, the required packages. The file input stream package, java.io.io exception package, java.util.properties. So we need all these three packages. That's why we are importing these packages in a class. So in every automation test case, so we need to perform the same. We need to import the required packages, and then in a class, right, we need to create a class, public class name, public static properties. So we are creating here properties object. So for that, private static properties type of property object equal to new properties. So configuration properties, for that we need to create a properties object, and then in a static block, we are giving a try catch. That means we are writing the code inside the try catch block. That means we are expecting some errors, some exceptions. That's why we are using try catch blocks here, the exception handling mechanism. So for this, we are writing file input stream. So file input stream type of object equal to new file input stream. So we are creating a file input stream object, and we are giving the path of the configuration file. So in the source folder, the test resources folder, we are have maintaining the config.properties. So in the folder structure, right in the above, if you see source test resources folder should have config.properties. That's why they are giving in file input while creating a file input stream object. File input stream means we need to know we are reading the values from the config property, right? So for that we are creating the file input stream object and we are passing the configuration file path which is available as the test resources folder. Config.properties is a file name. So we are passing this path of the config properties while creating a file input stream object. So after that, we already created a properties, right? Config property object. So properties object dot load file input stream. So in the properties, we are loading the file input stream values. So file input stream is having the config.properties file, right? So then we are loading this file into properties. So using properties method, we are loading the file input, the config.properties file values. Then after that, we are identifying some exception, right? So after try block, we are giving catch block. We should give catch block. In the catch block, we are expecting IO input output exception. So our IO exception we are expecting here because we are handling with the input file input stream, right? So we are expecting IO exception. So and also type exception type of object is E. So IO exception type of object is E, small e. So we are catching the exception, which is IO exception. So we are displaying the exception using print stack trace. After catching exception, we are displaying using print stack trace method. So exception object dot print stack trace method will be used to display the catch exception, the caught exception. So this is how we are reading the config dot properties. Okay, file input stream object creation, passing the path of the config and loading the using property object, the particular config properties file. This is how we will read it, the values from the config properties. So using this config reader, configuration reader means we are reading the values from the config property file. So in the config property file, we are having the application URL, a host name, IP address, whatever the path of the applications, web application paths we are giving, right? Everything we are maintaining there. And wherever we are maintaining a test data, that path we should give the in the config. All common variables under the URLs, application URLs, the paths, everything we are maintaining in a configuration property dot properties file. Because we need to use all these parameters, the application URLs, the test data path, everything, the IP address, host name, everything throughout the automation project. That's why we are maintaining in a single file, config.properties. And then we are using get property method. So public static string type of get property method, passing a parameter as argument, like a string type of key parameter, passing as an argument for get property method. So property object dot get property of key. So it will return, this is a string type, right? A string type of get property. So how to read the property, how to retrieve means using get property method, we are retrieving the using key values. That means a string type of key parameter we are passing. So get property of key means in the property object, we have all the configuration values using get property method. Properties object is having get property method. So in get property method, we are passing key. Then it will return a string value. That means the required property from the configuration file. Configuration file. The file is configuration file. The how we can declare configuration file means config dot extension is properties. So all the properties we are declared in the configuration property file, and we are reading it using config reader method, and we are retrieving it from the get property method. So this get property is returning a property object dot get property method of key. So we are returning a values from the config file using get property method. So properties, see here, what kind of properties we are maintaining in a config dot property. As I mentioned, right, the application URL, whatever application you are going to test, right, like Amazon application, or example, when you join in IT company, you need to work on any allocated web application, like a banking application or insurance application. You need to give the corresponding application URL as a property value. So in the properties, you need to pass the URL, application URL equal to application URL path you should give, and then browser equal to what kind of browser you are using. Browser equal to Chrome. So like this, right? You need to give all the required properties in a config properties. So after that, we need to create page object model. That means we are using page object model in Selenium automation framework for creating the page classes. So page object model means we should create a class for each page on a web application. So home page is there. So we should create a one class for home page. So this page object model means we should create a page object classes. So for each web application page, we are creating a class. So in that class, what we are maintaining packages, the package name is pages, and we are using the packages. We are importing the required Selenium by package by the class, right? Selenium WebDriver package, and this home page class, public class name is home page, and we are declaring the driver, WebDriver type of driver, and then we are declaring a search box, search button. So home page, we having the Amazon homepage, right? We have search box and search button. Okay, like that we have navigate to home page. So all the actually in every page class, we need to have the page, the corresponding web element locators, and also the functions of that particular page. In that way, in that home page, we are what functions we are using in that home page of Amazon. We need to navigate to home page. This method, this function is required, and then enter search terms. So we need to search a product, right? Then we need to use this method, and we need to click the search button. We need to use click search button. So all the common functions of a web page, the home page, using the locators of the web elements. So the locators and the common functions of the page we are storing in a page class. Okay. In every page class, the corresponding page locators and corresponding page common functions we are defining in the corresponding pages. In this home page, we have declared the locators of the required web elements and common functions of the on the performing on the identified web elements. Okay, that's why in this class we are declaring the locators and then we are creating the methods. This home page, right? This is a constructor. Public, the class name is home page. Public home page. If you give public home page class name, passing the one parameter. So this is a class constructor. So then why constructors will be useful to initialize the values, right? So we declared one private type of WebDriver type of variable driver. Then what we are doing? We are initializing. So using the constructors. So we are creating the constructors for initialization of the class variables. So this dot driver. So this driver variable equal to this passed driver. Whatever driver we are passing as argument, that is initialized by the class driver variable. So to perform this, we are using the constructors in the Java. And then we navigate into home page. So public void navigate to home page means we are passing a URL application URL as a argument string type. So driver dot get of URL. So as we all know, driver object dot get method will be used. Inside the get method, we need to pass the application URL to open a web application. So this is how we need to navigate to home page using driver dot get method. After that, we need to use enter search terms method. So we are passing a string argument, the search terms, the parameter. So here enter search terms means we need to identify the search box. So driver dot find element of search box dot, after identifying the search box, we need to pass the text, right, using send keys method. So we need to pass the search term, whatever parameter we are passing, we are pass the value here. So we need to enter the text in the identified search box. In this function we are doing identify the search box and pass enter the text in the search box. After that, we need to click the search button. For that, a separate function we have defined, the home page class. So in the click search button, we need to identify the search button using driver dot find element of search button, and we need to use click method. So like that, in every page we need to have the common functions and common locators. So in every here home page dot java we have created and declare and defined the locators and common functions of that home page. The same way, search results page. Another page is search results page. In that page also we need to define some locators and we need to define some methods based on the page functionality. So in the search results page, we need to, after clicking home page will be displayed, right? The user will be navigate to home page. The home page, we are defining the methods get first result title. That means Amazon title will be there, right? So we are reading the title. That means the user is navigated to home page. Okay. And also we are identifying the title. So the corresponding locators and functions, common functions, we are defining in each page. That is using the page object model. The page object model, we are creating the page classes. In each page class, we are defining the required locators of the page for the web elements to be identified, and also the common functions on the each page. So we are defining in each page classes. So such a test. This is a, and also see in the page classes we defined and then we need to write the test cases. So first test case is search test. This is a test case name. So we are that means this class we are writing as a test case, right? Then for that, what we need to do? Package name is tests. We are importing the required packages, test ng annotations, assertions we need to use. So for that, we are downloading testng package, importing the testng package, testng annotations, testng assertions, and the home page. See example, the test cases, we need to have the pages, the required pages, common functions also, right? For that, we are importing the home page here. Import pages dot home page. In home page, it is having the how to navigate to home page, the functions, how to click the search button, all the functions, right? Then we need to import the home page in this test case. So the required page classes we need to import in the same way. And also this is also we are importing the required page search pages, search results pages, and we are importing the configuration config reader class where it is reading the config properties. We are initializing the util driver factory. To initialize the driver, to fit the driver, we need the driver factory class. That means we need to import the required classes in the test cases. So whenever you are creating a test cases, right, in the classes, we need to import the required packages classes. So here we are creating a search test is a class. Then we are using annotations, test ng annotations. Before method means I will explain in test ng concept. A high level I am telling here. Before method is a annotation at the rate of before method. We will give in front of a method in a class, the required method. So before method means before executing a method, this steps will be executed. Okay. So before method means this test at the rate of test is a method means, so before method means before performing test case, it will perform this code. It will execute this code. So at the rate of before method annotation will be used to execute the few steps before executing a test case. The methods, test case methods. That means testng annotation at the rate of before method, it is having some logic which should execute before the test case execution. So what logic we are writing before at the rate of before method. So before executing any test case, first step is we need to set up the driver, okay, and we need to read the configuration properties. So that's why we are using setup method. So public void setup method, the driver factory get driver get property. So here we are reading the application URL using get property method. So using setup method. So this is the first step we need to perform because application should be uh, open, right? So for that the setup method need to execute first, and then it will go to this after method, right? This will execute after executing test case. That means after executing this code. So at the rate of after method, testng annotation will be used, will be executed some logic after executing the test case. At the rate of test means the required test methods. So we are considering at the rate of test is each one test case. So after performing the at the rate of test method, we need to execute the after at the rate of after method logic. So at the rate of after method, what kind of logic we are writing means to quit the driver. So to set up the driver is the setup method. To quit the driver is to close the driver object. After executing the test cases, we need to close the driver. That is, we are performing a after method. So main test case at the rate of test means this is the main method. That means main method means the required test case logic. So public void test result functionality, test search functionality. So test search functionality is a method. Here, what we are doing, the home page. So we are creating a home page object, okay, and then the home page we are getting the driver object, and then search results page. If you see here, home page is a class. See, home page we imported. Home page is a some separate page class. We imported in this class. That's why directly we are creating the home page object because we already imported, right? So we can create a home page, the class name, object name equal to new class name. Then we are getting the driver in this home page, and then results page. So here also we are creating the object and getting the driver. So two page objects were created in the test case. So after creating two page objects, the home page is having some common functions, right? Example, home page. Home page class is having this home page class having common functions like navigate to home page, enter search terms, click search button. All to call these methods, we have created a home page object in this test case. Sorry. See, home page object created, and we need to call the required method of the home page class using the object. So home page class object dot the required function enter search terms. So we are calling this function home page enter search terms method. So this method will be called using home page object. Okay. So home page object dot enter search terms, and we are passing the laptop. That means we are searching the laptop product in Amazon web application. So this is how we need to call the page functions from the test cases. So example, at the rate of test is a one automation test case. What this test case is doing? It is initializing the driver, and it is, that means this test case is searching the product laptop. So for that, what we need to do to search a we need to use the corresponding function in a corresponding page. For that, home page object created, and we need to call the home page object function enter search terms to execute the to search a product. And then we have used click search button using a we have another method, right? The home page click search button. After entering the product, we need to click the search button. For that, we call this one. So as I mentioned in the past, in the Java, in the core Java, public static void main. That means the JVM will come to main method to start execution, right? In Selenium, based on the testng annotations, we don't have public static void. No need to give public static void here. In Selenium automation, when you're using testng annotations, that is sufficient. At the rate of test means the testng will come to this method. Okay, so it will work as a the JVM will come to main method to execute the steps, right? The same way testng will find at the rate of test, at the rate of after method, at the rate of before method. So these are the annotation testng annotations. Based on this, the testng will perform first at before method logic, and then at the rate of test logic, and then after method logic. So testng is execution tool. Okay, it is used for the execution of test cases in Selenium automation. So in Selenium automation, we are using testng for the execution mechanism. So which method to execute first, which method to execute next, which method to execute last. So this is identified by the testng. So that's why the testng annotations will be used in the Selenium automation project. So at the rate of test means the after before method logic execution, it will the testng will perform this logic. Okay, and then here after finding a product, I clicking the required product here. This is search functionality only. So we are searching the product only. This test case is for searching the product purpose. In Amazon web application, it will go to Amazon web application. It will search a product. That is the test case. That's why we are naming as test search functionality. So for every required functionality, we need to create a automation test cases. So this test case is only for searching the product in the Amazon web application. So we are performing using the home page class methods. And also we are checking the title. So we are checking the title using get first result title. If you see result, another page is there, right? Search results page. Hello.
తీరేసా వాడు వెళ్ళిపోయాడంట.
Hello.
పీరియడ్ రిలేషన్షిప్ అయితే ఓకే ఏం కాలేదు.
కాదనుకుంటా వాడు ఎందుకు వదిలేస్తాడు
ఇంకోటి ఇంకా
వాడు వదిలేసాడు
అదే అందుకే అడుగు.
Hello. Sweta, can you please go to mute?
హస్బెండ్ బాయ్ ఫ్రెండ్ ఉండి కలిసి ఉండాలంటే ఇంకా ఓకే ఇట్స్ ఓకే అనుకోవాలి. లేదు టైం పాస్ అట్లా అయిందంటే
సాల్ట్ పడుతుంది
Okay. So please go to mute if anyone is the unmute. Thank you. So after this, right? See here. So
నాటి కథలు పడ్డది అనుకో డాక్టర్ దగ్గర పోకుండా పైకే పోతుంది ఇక డైరెక్ట్ చెప్తున్నాను
after creating page classes, so these test cases are created using test engine annotations. Okay. So we are creating a set test class. There we are defining the what driver initial steps before method and required set project functionality in the direct of test, and after set functionality we need to quit the driver after method. Okay. Okay, after creating these functions, right, how to execute using testng. See, for the execution of the test cases, when you use testng in automation project, what we need to do? So we need to use testng dependency. See, for the normally to download to use testng for the execution of test cases, we need to the corresponding dependency, the testng dependency, we need to mention in pom.xml. Okay, so this is how we need to the pom.xml. When you give the testng version 7.7.0, then it will download the testng libraries. Then when we are using testng, so we need to create testng.xml file. So in testng.xml file, we need to give what test case we need to execute. In this in testng.xml, this file will be used to execute the test cases. So when you normally when core Java, we want to select a run as Java project, right? Then it will run the core Java classes. The same way in the automation Selenium automation to execute any automation test cases. That means if you want to execute any classes, any page classes or any test classes, then you need to execute through testng. Then you need to execute run as. You need to select the option, right click on any class, run as testng. So for that, before that, we need to download the testng libraries in pom.xml using the by giving the dependency testng dependency, and we need to give the required version of testng so that it will download the testng, and we need to create a testng.xml file. So in the testng.xml file, we need to give the suite name. What is the suite name? That is a suite tag. So Amazon test suite. If you consider Amazon test suite as a name of the suite, so we should give in a suite tag. Inside the suite tag, we need to okay. We need to create a test tag. Inside the test tag, we need to give the classes tag. Inside the classes tag, we need to execute the corresponding class. Okay. So in testng.xml, we should give suite name, test name, and classes. Inside the classes, what class you need to execute. Example, here we are executing test.setTest. This class we are executing. So we are giving inside the classes tag this class tag. The name of the class is test.setTest. So that this testng will execute only this class. Okay, this is how we need to use testng.xml by giving the suite name, test name, the classes, the class name inside the classes tag. If you give multiple class names, class tags here, it will execute all those test cases. all those classes. So testng XML, testng.xml is used for running the test cases in automation project. So we need to declare like this: so tag, test tag, classes tag, and class tag, and we need to close the corresponding tags. So this is the structure of testng.xml code for executing the automation test cases. In a, that means classes, the corresponding automation test cases classes. See, if you want to run as testng, and other method is we are using Maven. This is a Maven project, right? We are creating a Maven project. Then we need to give the command line mvn maven space test. So if you give maven test means it will execute the corresponding test case, the class. And before that, we need to go to the project folder wherever the maven project is created. So we need to direct to the project path in command line like this cmd, right? Command prompt will be there. So here we need to direct to the project maven project, and after redirect to maven project directory, then you need to give maven test. Then inside the maven project, the corresponding test case will be there. Then using mvn maven space test, if you give whatever test case, it will execute. This is the other way. Using testng, you can execute the test cases, automation test cases, using maven commands from the command line. From the command line, after redirecting to the maven project directory, then you should give maven test command to execute the automation test cases. Okay. So for, and also we will execute the parallel execution. That means execution of automation test cases parallelly. If for some 100 test cases created, if you want to execute 100 automation test cases in 5 browsers, then you need to give
కొంచెం రోజు రోజు కొంచెం ఎక్కువ తినడం స్టార్ట్ చేయి
in testng XML,
ఏంటి
in testng.xml, you should give suit tag, right? In
నేను
suit
ఇండియాలో
tag,
ఉన్నప్పుడు ఎంత తింటుండే అడగండి
you should give parallel keyword, and you should give parallel keyword.
చిన్న పోరగాళ్ళు తింటారు చూడు ఎంతనే తింటుండే నిజంగా కొంచెమే
అంతే అప్పుడే నా కడుపు ఫుల్ అయిపోతుంది అప్పిటైట్ చాలా చిన్నగా ఉంటుండే తింటుండే ఘోరంగా మా డాడీ సైడ్ వాళ్ళకి లేదు సో చెయ్యం అమ్మా అంటే డాడీ వాళ్ళకి ఫాలో అవుతాం కదా మనం
So after so in the testng.xml, right, you should give parallel keyword. If you want to execute parallel execution, the parallel keyword equal to parallel tests, and also you should give thread count, thread hyphen count. So it will give, if you give thread count to 3 or 4 or 5, then it will open the corresponding the browser instances, and then it will execute 100 test cases in 5 browsers. That is how you can execute the parallel test cases execution using testng. Okay, and we can use for the reporting purpose testng reports. By default, when you use testng execution tool, the testng tool, then it will have testng html report. After executing the test cases, it will generate the testng html report, or also you can use customized extend reports. We can create our own reports using extend reports package. This is extend reports. So when you download a dependency, right, as I shown, whatever tool you want to use in automation project, we need to give the corresponding dependency. You should give the extend reports, the version of the extend reports, then it will download the extend reports libraries. Then you can create a class to create extend reports. That means customized testing reports for the automation project. The advanced of extended reports is Allure reports. To use the Allure also, you need to download the dependency, the Allure libraries using Allure dependency, and you can create the Allure reports also. So by default, if you use TestNG, HTML TestNG HTML report is created. If your client, if you are working in automation project for a specific client in your organization, if client is expecting extend reports or Allure reports, we need to use this reports creation. This is using this extend reports, Allure reports, dependencies, downloading using in your project. So data driven test. When we data driven test means in automation project, in the automation framework, data driven test means we need to parameterize the test. So we need to store all the test cases in Excel spreadsheet, and we need to pass the test data in Excel sheet. And in the parameterized test means the test cases should have the parameters in the automation code. In when you are writing the test cases, every method need to have the arguments for the for corresponding web elements data. Example, if you want to use username password, that particular enter username enter password method should have the parameters. So that's why when we have each method parameterized, then we can store the test data in a Excel spreadsheets using the data driven test. So using data driven test, use TestNG's at the rate of data provider. We have TestNG one annotation at the rate of data provider. Then we can provide all the required test data in the Excel spreadsheets to read it to execute the test cases. So in TestNG we have one annotation. So for parameterize the test cases execution. So normally we will data driven means we are maintaining everything, all the test case names, all the corresponding test cases, test data. Okay, for login test case, we need to have username, password. So for in the login test case, you will maintain this username and password data. In other example, Amazon product search functionality. So you need to have the product name as a test data. So everything we are maintaining in as a data driven test. So this is the meaning of data driven test. CI/CD integration means, see, CI/CD integration, this is in every organization we will have a separate DevOps team. They will take care of Jenkins, the GitLab repositories. Jenkins is a CI/CD tool. So whenever developers will make application changes, then they will deploy the code into SIT environment or UAT environment. Then our test cases, automation test cases will trigger automatically based on the code application changes. So this is automation process. No need to execute from our side. We need to create a Jenkins CI/CD tool pipeline jobs. In Jenkins, after creating a Jenkins jobs, in the jobs we will define what kind of regression test cases we need to execute whenever application changes deployed into particular environment. So whenever any new application changes done by the development team and they are deploying into SIT or UAT environment, we will create a Jenkins jobs. In that jobs, we will define trigger this smoke test cases, trigger this regression test cases in particular time, like a day, night time. So daily jobs, nightly jobs, weekly jobs. So we'll create a jobs based on the required time schedule. Then after code is deployed, application changes functionality code is deployed, then the corresponding automation test cases will execute using CI/CD integration. So for that, we need to use Jenkins tool and GitHub or Git lab or GitHub Git repository. Git repository is used to store our automation code. When you are creating an automation project for your web application, we need to store all the automation test cases into Git repository. So for storing the automation scripts, automation test cases of your automation project in Git repository. So Git is a repository to store the automation test cases, automation scripts. So after storing in Git repository, when you create a job in Jenkins, then the Jenkins job will call the required automation test cases from the Git repository. So in Git repository, all the automation scripts are stored, right? Then you are integrating your Jenkins with the Git repository, and Git repository, whenever you are calling the test cases from the Git repository, the corresponding Git is integrated with your automation framework in your server machine or local machine. So then in the Git repository server, the corresponding test cases will start execution in your local system or server system. Then automatically the corresponding test cases will execute using your automation framework which you created in your system. So this is the process by the CI/CD integration process. So I have covered today like how to create a Selenium automation project using the TestNG tool. Okay, and tomorrow onwards, I will explain. I will create a one project the same way in Eclipse IDE. I'll show you one example so that you can able to practice by yourself in Eclipse IDE. Okay, just high level in 1 or 2 minutes. I will show how we can create a structure in the Maven project in Eclipse IDE. So tomorrow I will show detail how we can create Selenium automation project in next Eclipse IDE. So some problem occurred in Eclipse. That's why it's not loading. Okay, then tomorrow I will show in Eclipse IDE so that from next week you can able to practice the Selenium automation test case creation in Eclipse IDE. So and from the next session, after showing Eclipse, the Maven project creation in Eclipse IDE, then I will start the TestNG automation tool concept, and then I will explain the Maven concept, Maven build tool, how we can use Maven build tool for creating the Maven project. Okay, we'll cover these two are very important. So after that, we'll see how we can take any application, how we can automate a simple test cases, so that so we can close the Selenium within 3-4 classes. Okay, I'm closing the session today. Thank you all. Have a nice evening.